Welcome to the Great Unlearning Channel with Chris Native.
Who am I? The hard problem of consciousness. Education consists mostly of what we have unlearned. Mark Twain. Our world culture is predicated on the assumption that reality is made up of two essential components, mind and matter. Matter is considered the primary element in this duality, giving rise to the dominant materialistic paradigm, which holds that mind, or consciousness, the knowing element of mind, is derived from matter. However, is this supposition accurate? Is consciousness derived from matter, or is matter derived from consciousness? I would love to hear your opinion. Please comment. The hard problem of consciousness, or how consciousness is supposed to be derived from matter, remains a mystery and is one of the most perplexing questions in science and philosophy today. Surprisingly, the lack of evidence for this phenomenon is not deemed significant enough to dissuade most scientists and philosophers from their belief that consciousness is a derivative of matter, despite the fact that more and more people are beginning to question this. Most people still believe that as neurology advances, the neural correlates of consciousness and the mechanisms by which it is derived from the brain will be discovered, and this belief is reinforced by the mainstream media. However, until then, the difficult problem of consciousness remains an uneasy dilemma for materialist paradigm proponents. Ironically, in all other fields of scientific research, such a lack of evidence would undermine the theory's premise. But in a leap of faith that betrays the irrational nature of materialism itself, the conviction at its heart is not undermined by a lack of supporting evidence, nor indeed by compelling evidence to the contrary. In this regard, the dominant materialistic paradigm resembles religion in many ways. It is founded on the correct intuition that there is a single, universal, and fundamental reality, but it allows belief instead of experience to guide the exploration and thus the implications of that intuition. Some modern philosophers and scientists go so far as to believe that consciousness is an epiphenomenon or secondary function of the brain. Others deny the very existence of consciousness, claiming it is an illusion created by chemical activity in the brain in an extraordinary and convoluted line of reasoning. In doing so, they deny the primary and most substantial element of experience, consciousness itself. They posit the existence of a substance, which we have collectively defined as matter, that has never been directly observed in a scientific setting but is still expected to be found and isolated. Currently, we have only a mathematical theory to describe it in the field of particle physics. In fact, modern advances in quantum physics have made it impossible to locate this substance, which we call matter according to its definition. At the quantum level, particles are described as fields of probabilities, which implies that there may not be any substance called matter according to our previous definition. The question of whether consciousness is derived from matter or matter is derived from consciousness has been pondered by many non-dual philosophies, including Advaita and Buddhist teachings for thousands of years. If there is anywhere we should look, perhaps the East would be ideal. In Advaita Vedanta, consciousness, or Atman as the expression of Brahman, is considered the fundamental reality, and everything else, including what we collectively call matter, is seen as a manifestation of that consciousness. The physical world is viewed as illusory, a product of our own materialistic ignorance, and the goal of spiritual practice is to realize our true nature as the underlying awareness, or pure consciousness. Similarly, in Buddhist philosophy, consciousness or awareness is seen as a fundamental aspect of reality, and the physical world is seen as a product of our own perceptions and mental constructions. Both Advaita and Buddhist teachings reject the notion that consciousness is derived from matter. They argue that matter, or the physical world, is a projection of our own minds, and therefore, consciousness is the primary element of reality. This view challenges the dominant materialistic paradigm, which holds that matter is the primary element and consciousness is a byproduct of it. Non-dual philosophies and their practices aim to help individuals transcend the illusion of the physical world and realize their true nature as pure consciousness. This realization is said to lead to a state of liberation, where one experiences a profound sense of peace, joy, and interconnectedness with all things. You are not just a body and a mind, but a conscious being who can directly perceive your own essence. This insight, which arises from your personal experience rather than intellectual reasoning, reveals that all phenomena are expressions of your consciousness. This is a paradoxical proposition. The world you see and hear is not just an objective reality out there, but a subjective projection from within you. I am suggesting that you consider, and I invite you to entertain the possibility that the world you experience is not an apparent location in time and space, but an appearance within your awareness or consciousness. Time and space are after all only concepts that exist only in the mind that we have made part of our materialist paradigm. Even the video you are watching and the words you are reading are filtered through your own lenses of perception, shaped by your experiences, biases, opinions, and culture. The world is not happening to you, it is happening through you. You are the source and the witness of everything that appears in your awareness, except that it is being filtered not only through the limitations of your 5 sensory faculties, but also through your own societal conditioning or experiences. So, is the world happening to you or through you? The answer to this question becomes apparent when you turn the spotlight of your self-aware consciousness away from objects and instead towards the subject, oneself of course, which is a concept commonly and collectively referred to as I. Apart from the filters, everything that you are experiencing right now is an appearance that is happening in your own mind, in your own consciousness. In the non-dual view of consciousness, the disappearance and reappearance of perception and sensation are phenomena that have been observed by those who have undergone the so-called loss of consciousness due to fainting or general anesthesia. In these extraordinary moments, individuals witness the disappearance and reappearance of perception and sensation within a vast field of awareness. This mesmerizing field reveals the very nature of consciousness itself, a domain where the limits of perception vanish, allowing access to a seamless fabric of experience beyond the dualistic boundaries of the mind. Consider this question: how can one claim that one's experience under anesthesia was devoid of any objective content unless there was a conscious witness or observer to attest to the absence of such content? This question points to the central theme of this series on consciousness, the nature and identity of the observing witness, which we call I. That immense field of awareness, where there is no objective content but only the aware subjective observer, is consciousness itself, our true and essential nature. A major obstacle to cognizing the meaning of my prior assertion lies in our deep-rooted and utterly false assumption that our physical bodies constitute our true selves. We all know this deeply and instinctively, yet we are often blinded by the seductive allure and illusion of materialism, which ultimately obscures this realization. We are not the bodies that we think we are. The body is not the true I that we erroneously refer to, although we often mistake it for the I under this false assumption. The body is merely a temporary appearance or perception and a cloud of sensations within our conscious being. In other words, you are not the house that you temporarily live in. Neither are we our minds. The mind is merely a movement within a vast and infinite field. This infinite field is consciousness itself, our primary and essential nature. The mind is merely the activity or veiled movement of consciousness. It needs to be stated here clearly again. Pure consciousness or awareness is our fundamental and primary state of being. It is the primordial state we inhabited even before we dwelled in the body of an infant, and also during the first few months of inhabiting the infant's body before the emergence of our individual mind or ego. This is the ultimate state of being, where all physical and mental phenomena dissolve back into, to eventually return to their source. In this state, there is no distinction between self and other, for in ultimate reality there is only one indivisible consciousness. This is the illusory nature of this marvelous and transient paradox. It is one being that manifests itself as everything in order to experience itself in diverse ways. There is a purpose behind this, which I will not delve into now. However, we are getting ahead of ourselves. Anything that appears to exist other than consciousness seems to be a part of the grand illusion of infinite creation. Consciousness is all there is, and everything that appears from our point of view to be other than consciousness is simply a modulation of the same one essential consciousness presenting itself as a multiplicity of objects. To thank you for your support on this channel in this first series, you can watch a music video of the theme song by following a link at the end of this video. In a different series, I will write a new theme track, and you can further support this channel by buying the track of every series at your chosen price. Thank you for your support. For many people, the debate over the ultimate reality of the universe is purely academic, detached from the concerns and demands of daily life. After all, reality is whatever it is, regardless of our perceptions of it. However, I hope that this channel throughout our unlearning will demonstrate unequivocally that the materialist paradigm is a philosophy of despair and conflict, and thus the root cause of individual unhappiness and hostility. sadly, even between individuals, communities, and nations. But what are the implications for humanity? Far from being abstract and philosophical, its implications affect each of us directly and intimately. Because the dominant materialistic paradigm in which we were raised and now live profoundly, for the most part subliminally influences almost everything we think, feel, and do. As long as we continue to seek the source of happiness for individuals and peace among communities and nations within the existing materialist framework, the best we can hope for is brief respite from the general trend of experience that is becoming increasingly divisive. However, there have been monumental moments in history when humanity's collective intelligence could no longer be contained within the parameters that had evolved over the preceding centuries in order to advance it. Cultural forms that evolved precisely to develop, define, and express humanity's growing intelligence can no longer accommodate it and become the very means by which it is stifled. Two such notions are beliefs in a flat earth and a geocentric universe. Pythagoras of Samos was an ancient Ionian Greek philosopher. He challenged the ancient world's belief in a flat earth in the 6th century BCE, but it took another 2,000 years for his spherical earth model to be fully accepted by all cultures. Similarly, the concept of a heliocentric universe was first proposed in the 3rd century BCE, but it took nearly 2,000 years for the Copernican revolution to make it popular. In each case, a belief that had previously served humanity's evolution became the very source of its constraint. But not without opposition. In each case, the dominant paradigm was so tightly woven into the ways people thought, felt, acted, perceived, and related to one another, and so deeply ingrained into the fabric and mechanism of society itself, that it took 2 millennia, more or less, to erase the last vestiges of these ideas. Is it not apparent that the matter model has outlived its usefulness? It is now destroying the very values that it once sought to promote. I believe that the materialist paradigm, which has benefited humanity in numerous ways that I will not go into here, can no longer accommodate its evolving intelligence. We can see evidence that the shell of materialism has cracked all around us, both within ourselves and in our global culture. Humanity's expanding organism is no longer containable, and humanity's struggle to emerge is manifesting itself in all aspects of society. Its host, the earth, can no longer withstand its degradation and exploitation. However, tinkering with the existing paradigm from within its parameters is no longer sufficient. Individuals continue with despair and sorrow on a frequent basis. There is an increase of conflicts between communities and nations. All of these issues, including humanity's dysfunctional relationship with nature, necessitate a new paradigm to be addressed definitively. A revolution of the mind is proposed on this channel, one that attacks the fundamental assumption that underpins our understanding of ourselves, others, and the world. It is to this revolution that Max Planck, the creator of quantum theory, alluded when he said, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. Matter, in my opinion, is a byproduct of consciousness." It is to this revolution that Carl Jung referred when he said, "It is not only possible, but fairly probable that psyche and matter are two different aspects of the same thing." This is an inner revolution that addresses the very core of our understanding of ourselves, upon which all subsequent knowledge and understanding must be based. This idea only scratches the surface of the implications of this revolution, but its ramifications touch every aspect of our lives. The implications of the consciousness-only model proposed on this channel continue to reveal themselves long after the initial insight or recognition, gradually colonizing and reconditioning the way we think and feel, and subsequently informing and transforming our activities and relationships. In this second episode, we delved into the fascinating topic of the hard problem of consciousness. We questioned the prevailing materialistic paradigm that asserts consciousness as a byproduct of matter, highlighting the lack of evidence supporting this view. Drawing parallels with religion, we explored how belief rather than direct experience guides the exploration of consciousness. We introduced the profound perspectives of non-dual philosophies like Advaita Vedanta and Buddhism, which propose that consciousness is the fundamental reality, with matter being a manifestation of consciousness. These philosophies challenge the mainstream materialistic view and advocate for the realization of our true nature as pure consciousness. In conclusion, we argued that the materialistic paradigm is a philosophy of despair and conflict, influencing our lives in profound ways. We called for a revolution of the mind, inspired by visionary thinkers like Max Planck and Carl Jung, who recognized the fundamental role of consciousness. This inner revolution seeks to redefine our understanding of ourselves and the world, with far-reaching implications for our thoughts, feelings, actions, and relationships. By embracing consciousness as fundamental, we can embark on a transformative journey that leads to a greater sense of interconnectedness and liberation from the illusions of the material world. In general, the physical universe appears to be closer to a great thought and a great dream in the universal mind, which is simply the movement or activity of the one universal consciousness that is thinking or dreaming it into being. The consciousness-only model is not a novel concept. Because all human beings are fundamentally the same, there must be a fundamental knowledge of ourselves that transcends the local, temporal conditioning that we acquire from our cultures and thus share with all humanity, regardless of our political, religious, or ideological beliefs. Aldous Huxley referred to this as perennial philosophy, or philosophy that remains constant at all times, in all places, under all circumstances, and for all people. Join me next time as we explore this topic of consciousness a little deeper with the perennial philosophy of Aldous Huxley.
Please follow the link at the very end of this clip to watch the music video of the theme track.